E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories, live streaming now to millions of devices including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Messages of Inspirational Stories. Today's show is making a difference with our youth, right? But I want to focus today on youth mentors. That's so important that we are mentors for our youth throughout our life. You know, it doesn't have to be just one time period in your life, but all throughout your life. So shout outs. I want to give a quick shout out today. And, you know, I think back in my life and I think my shout out would be to my folks. And of course, they're no longer with me, you know, but they were absolutely tough love, great sense of humor, great wisdom. In fact, their wisdom got wiser as I got older. So I think, you know, who we are as parents with our children is such a huge reflection. And I'm probably not alone in that we don't see how much our folks gave to us until we're older. And for me, it was probably after my first child that it really started to sink into me. So I got some really great articles today, you guys, and I'm really excited to share this with you. So this article, it's an older article. It goes back to 2010. But I thought it was really important, and it talks about mentoring children with incarcerated parents, implications, you know, for the research, the practice, and the policy. So putting children together with a mentor, and of course, a lot of the mentor child. They just didn't work. The groups didn't work. So a lot of them terminated early on. But what they did say for those matches that continued to meet, children who saw their mentors more frequently exhibited fewer internalizing and externalizing symptoms. In monthly interviews with participants, themes emerged about challenges associated with mentoring and reasons for match termination. So, of course, I think we can all agree that when we have children who have one or both parents who are incarcerated, that is a heavy burden in itself on our children. And so I think this is an incredible program. But it's said that as of 2007, and of course this dates back a few years, so it probably maybe a little bit more now, but more than 1.7 million children have a parent who is incarcerated in a state or a federal prison. Children of incarcerated parents are at risk for developing behavior and school problems and insecure attachment relationships. Many of these children experience multiple risks, making them an ideal target for interventions. Recently, policymakers have viewed formalized mentoring programs such as Big Brothers, Big Sisters that match at-risk youth with unrelated adult volunteers as one intervention effort that may address some of the needs of this population. The political popularity of mentoring may be due in part to the low cost of volunteer-run programs. Further mentoring programs make intuitive sense. All children, everywhere, need guidance and support and really good role models. Despite their popularity, such targeted programs have not been explored in deep into literature. It says the purpose of the current study is to examine the development of mentoring relationships that children's behavior outcomes in the context of a mentoring program for children with incarcerated parents. The children, well, it goes on to say, and I'm not going to read every portion of this. It's kind of a long article, so I'm not going to read every portion of it. But it does go on to say that with a new relationship with a caring and supportive adult, gradual changes in a child's internal workings influence the child's expectations for future relationships and its behavioral outcomes. So, I think let's just think about it. It helps them with understanding that their parents are incarcerated because of what their parents did and not them. And a mentoring program, I think, would be amazing like this, because it teaches those children that you're probably going to have some abandonment issues, right? Because one or both of their parents are gone. So this helps with that. It helps them keep them kind of on the straight and narrow, if you will. It also goes on to say here that Big Brother, Big Sisters is, of course, a nationwide mentoring program that pairs unrelated adult volunteers with children aged 5 to 18 years from single-parent households. Participants commit to meeting 2 to 4 times per month for 1 year. And the BBBS has an extensive infrastructure, including intense volunteer screening, match criteria, and ongoing supervision. Conducted the largest randomized control study of Big Brother, Big Sister to date, with a sample of 959 youth between ages 10 to 16 years. After the first 18 months of program participation, mentored youth reported fewer externalizing behavior problems, physical aggression, compared to control youth, although internalizing symptoms like depression were not yet measured. Positive outcomes are promoted when mentoring relationships are characterized as close, consistent, and long-lasting. Despite their popularity, however, the efficiency and effectiveness of mentoring programs are not well understood, and research has led to mixed conclusions about their impact. The relationship process involved in mentoring children of incarcerated parents are particularly unclear, as little is known about if and how previous relationship disruption that occurred as a result of parental incarceration affects children's experiences in a new relationship with a mentor. So, they would be considered a lot of times a high-risk youth, right? And it's going to help keep them. A good mentoring program like Big Brothers, Big Sisters will keep them engaged into extracurricular activity. A good mentoring program, a good mentor is going to reach out and find what they like, what really gets them going. What is that one thing? Is it reading? Is it writing? Is it acting? Is it sports? What is it that you like? And they're going to help that child in that area. And that also gives them a huge, huge outlet. I just think that is absolutely brilliant to mentor children of incarcerated parents. There's of course challenges. Some of them, they've undergone some challenges with this, but it says here that in November of 2003, only 47% of all matches that this research had done were still active. And this actually they started this little study and mentoring program between 2001 and 2003. And they had matched 726 children with mentors. And only 47% of all matches were still active by November of 2003. So although, some of the information, they don't have all of it yet, but it is really, really amazing that they're doing this, caregivers, children's mentors, and helping our children out there and helping them understand that they don't have to follow down the same road maybe their folks went down that ended up in, being in state or federal prison. Because we know, and unfortunately, we see it all the time in the news. When we hear backstories about children maybe, or young adults now with a problem life, something's happened. A lot of times we'll hear the backstory of what was going on in their life at that time. And, it was an absentee parent, and then that leaves the burden, of course, of the other parent trying to, be not only both parents, but take care of them financially and mentally and, seeing to their physical needs and shelter. And like me, when I was a single parent, I worked horrendous hours. I worked 7 days a week. I was, there for my children as much as I could be. But there were times back when I lived in Ohio, that I worked as much as 114 hours in a week. And I got to be honest, I didn't see anybody when I was working those kind of hours, and it was crazy. So, but darn it, as parents, we do what we got to do to take care of our kids, don't we? So I think that these kind of mentoring programs, reaching out there and helping these children in their hour of need, is absolutely beautiful. And I had never heard of this mentoring program for children of incarcerated parents. So I wanted to bring that up because I thought it was really, really interesting. And how they're doing case studies to see, the outcome, and to see if the children who stay with the program, who end up in a better place. Okay. So it also said here that most of the mentors that in this particular program were single, and it goes into statistics about, which kind of sometimes drives me nuts, but whether they were, what ethnicity they were, if they were male or female. But it did say that 72% of them were employed, which, sometimes a lot of people who retire become mentors, right? And they want to, they don't want to obviously work with their job, but they want to be a contributing part of our society. And what better way to contribute and give back to our society than to mentor our youth? I just think it's brilliant. So, okay, and on to a couple other stories. So this is cool. And, we hear about it, but I don't think we always hear on athletes, who've made it big, some of their backstories. And I guess, maybe, if you're really into that particular sport and that team, you probably have done your research. But on the whole, but it's most people say, they wouldn't be where they are today without a mentor, right? So in this article, This was back in 2016. It talks about, in the case again of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and we all know they've been around since forever. This is of Massachusetts Bay. Sports and athletics are also a popular topic that matches bonds over their love for the Sox or Tom Brady. Okay. But they're highlighting some of these athletes and their mentors. So the first one that they talk about, and a lot of these I don't know about them because I'm not into those sports, but they talk about Joel Ward, and he's with San Jose Sharks. The former Predators right winger is known on these for his clutch goal scoring and all-around game. Off the ice, though, he is a mentor, a big brother himself with Big Brother Big Sisters of Middle Tennessee. Joel was matched with his little Malik, I believe is how they say his name, and made a major impact in his life. After leaving Nashville in free agency, though, their relationship could have stopped there. But Ward and the Predators would not let that happen. The Predators organization stepped right in to provide mentors for Malik and became a second family to him. That is just beautiful. So this next one is talks about Mike Trout, Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So no athlete can make it to the top alone, and the Angels MVP outfielder is no exception. Trout had many mentors that helped him from little league to the big league. Knowing that not every child is lucky to have this kind of support, Trout recently teamed up with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Orange County and the Inland Empire. And in order to help more kids receive the same support he did, he wants to use his voice to encourage more big brothers everywhere. That, to me, is what being in that position should be all about. You know, you're in a position where people actually now hear you. They hear you in interviews. They see you on TV. They see you all over. And, you know, when you're passionate about something and that you can help change the world, put more love and change it forward, and like he's doing with the youth program, that is right there huge, absolutely huge. So this next person that we're going to talk about, everybody knows this name, Tom Brady with the New England Patriots. So Super Bowl champion Tom Brady is fiery, uber competitive player on the field. And off the field, though, he is one of the classiest players and best role models in sports today. By following his career, there are many life lessons. There are many, I just lost my place. I apologize. There are many life lessons youth can learn from him. Overcoming adversity, the power of hard work and determination, and the importance of giving back to the community. Tom Brady sure didn't reach this point alone, and he reflects on his longtime mentor, Tom Martinez, after his passing. So, you know, think about it. This is a man who is known all over football. You know, there's some love him, some hate him, doesn't matter. What matters is that he is a mentor to youth because he knows how important it was to him and how important it is to help that child, that just one child who needs a little help and a little guidance and love. Because when you become a mentor, you're giving love, right? You are mentoring them because the love of children in your life and the love of who you are, you're mentoring them out of that gift. And I think that in all these people that we're going to be talking about here is absolutely fantastic. So this next person is Patrice Bergeron of Boston Bruins. Patrice Bergeron is everything you hope for in an athlete. He plays the game the right way, shines in the biggest moments, and is simply a leader both on and off the ice. Bergeron is consistently giving back to the Boston community and was even recognized for this when he was honored with a Community Service Award back in 2014. Bergeron's charity, Patrice's Pals, brings patients from local hospitals and other children's organizations to the TD Garden to experience a Bruins home game and even meet him following the game, every game, win or lose. Okay, that is just going right out there. I love that. That he brings children in. In doing my research for the show today, there are a lot of pro athletes out there who have charities, right? Because they have been so blessed in their career, in their life, in what they've been given. And yes, they've earned it, right? You don't get to be a pro athlete without earning it and, starting at the bottom and working your way up to the top. But these pro athletes out there, I gotta really take my hat off to them, because they're out there and they're creating a charity because they were there one time. They were where those children are at one time, and they want to help make this world a better place. And the way that we can make the world a better place is by, giving of ourselves, right? Being a servant leader and giving love. Absolutely beautiful. So hats off. That is fabulous. So this next one is Steph Curry of Golden State Warriors. So much like Tom Brady, Steph is a role model for youth simply in the way he carries himself as a professional and the unconventional path he took to make it to this level. He has overcome much adversity through his career to now become the best player in the NBA. It says in parentheses, sorry, LeBron. And it's not just on the court he makes a difference, as he received the 2013-2014 Kia Community Assist Award from the NBA. He has made countless efforts to give back to the Bay Area, and most often with unserved youth in the area. Wow, this is amazing. Okay, so now we're going to go to Michael Orr, Carolina Panthers. So we know about Michael Orr from, if you don't follow him in football, he's retired now, but he's the story The Blind Side was from with Tim McGraw and, oh my gosh, what's her name? I can see her face. Anyway, I'll probably think of it later. But Michael Orr is not just the offensive lineman for the NFC champion Panthers. He is also the story behind the film The Blind Side. Orr's story shows us that with the help of a responsible, caring adult, any at-risk youth can reach their full potential. Sadly, much of today's youth is in a similar position as Orr once was. But thanks to the help of big brothers and other mentors, they are able to find success in life and create their own blindside story. So I like that, mentors, whether they're a professional sports player or it's in your area of what you do in your work, whether maybe you're a publicist or an accountant or whatever it is. We're always going to find those children out there who are interested in what you do. That, kind of know from an early age, I think this is what I'm going to do. And they might, dabble something else here and there, but usually they come back around to it. And so that's where, we get in. Anybody can be an amazing mentor. Okay, this is one of my favorite players, and of course, one of my favorite pro football team, the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. You would be hard-pressed to find any player or fan who has a bad thing to say about Larry Fitzgerald. The veteran wide receiver has long been one of the top playmakers at his position, all while remaining humble and classy. He even received the 2014 Art Rooney Award, recognizing his outstanding sportsmanship. Off the gridiron, Fitz established the First Down Fund to help positive activities for youth in the community and much more. He has been recognized and awarded on numerous occasions by the NFL and sports writers for all of his work. So I can't pull it up quick enough without, I can't talk and pull it up online at the same time. So I apologize. I want to, but I did some Googling on him a while back. I was very curious. And what strikes me as absolutely classy, I guess is the word I'm going to use here, classy about Larry Fitzgerald is that he doesn't just give to one thing, right? Because he knows it's not all about him, just like all these other people do, just like out there. It isn't all about us. We don't get anywhere alone. But Larry Fitzgerald, if you Google him, I was absolutely a little dumbfounded at all the things he supports, that all the things that he gives to and puts his name to bring awareness to helping, whether it's children, whether it's sports. If my memory serves me right, he also has some organization that helps even the children in Africa and actually globally. He does things everywhere. So it was pretty awe-inspiring. So this next one, Chris Paul. Now this was when Chris Paul was with the LA Clippers, and I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's with the Arizona Suns now. But he is the best pure point guard in the NBA, and arguably one of the most underrated players in the past decade. The way he carries himself on and off the court causes not just youth to look up to him, but also his own peers in the NBA. Paul is often seen giving back to the community through his charity, and particularly targets youth and families. So, he's very competitive on the field, right? But again, look at what all these really successful people do. And I think before I go on to talk about Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I don't know a lot of these names, so if they've moved, I'm just reading from this because I wanted to share it with you. But, I look back in my life and I want you to do the same. Although these guys have the notoriety, right, and to lend their name or the money from their career to start a charity, and maybe you don't. Maybe we're not at that point in our life. But I don't want anyone out there thinking that they haven't made a difference as a mentor to a child. I believe strongly that it is my personal job to mentor people every chance I get. And, mentoring for me isn't about being preachy or, ramming something down somebody's throat. It's about expressing, I remember when I was your age, I didn't do this, this, and this. And boy, howdy, I wish I had of. It would have made the next coming year so much easier, whatever the case may be. But we are all mentors. So everybody out there, you know what? Sometimes even mentoring is just giving somebody a smile. Maybe it's at the grocery store and you don't know what's going on in their life. And maybe that smile lit them up and filled them where they were empty. And that mentoring, that mere smile of giving your love, of mentoring for that one moment, may have lifted that person up for the rest of the day. So kudos to all of you. So Clayton Kershaw of the LA Dodgers. The Dodgers ace may not always shine when the spotlight is on him, on the diamond, but when it comes to giving back to the community, he always comes through in the clutch. The Southpaw created Kershaw's Challenge to help provide a better quality of life and give opportunities to vulnerable, underprivileged children in LA, Dallas, Zambia, and the Dominican Republic. Kershaw donates to the challenge for every strikeout he throws. And you can join him or you can create your own challenge. How cool is that? He donates every strikeout. I love that. Russell Wilson. Okay, I know this name and I'm not sure why, but I do. But he's with the Seattle Seahawks. So it was not always an easy road to stardom for Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. He endured much adversity, including his height of only 5'11", to become the starting quarterback and eventually a Super Bowl champion. That alone is worth looking up to, but the way Wilson carries himself off the field is even more impressive. He is often seen in the community, visiting Seattle Children's Hospital and hosting various football clinics and events for youth in the area. He also started the Why Not You Foundation to help empower youth everywhere to believe in themselves and reach their full potential. Now, that is beautiful. Russell Wilson, hats off. I love that. Why Not You Foundation, to empower youth everywhere and to believe in themselves and reach their full potential. That is perfect. I think we often forget the children around us, our youth, need to reach their full potential, and it may be just for that day. I know as adults, at least in my world, I thought I was at times and I wasn't reaching my full potential. So why should children be any different? I love that. So this one is another article on some pretty amazing mentors. And I'm trying to see, it doesn't have a date, or at least not one that I can find. But it's called Within Reach, Athletes Mentoring Athletes. So this is really neat. On his new Nickelodeon show, now again, I'm sure that this was probably an older article, but on his new Nickelodeon show, All In with Cam Newton, the superstar Carolina Panthers quarterback, is helping some lucky kids reach their athletic dreams. But before Cam had the TV show, played in the Super Bowl, or generally dominated opposing defenses, he was an up-and-coming prospect. And he also needed some guidance. And he got it from quarterback Warren Moon. When he played, Moon was one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in football. So he was the right guy to mentor Cam during the pre-draft proveness and help me transition to the NFL. So, from what I understand from my husband, when You've got new guys coming into the NFL. They've just been drafted. Everybody has a mentor. And it's a big deal because it's a huge adjustment for them. So that's awesome. Now, this next one, we know her in the tennis world. Serena Williams is one of the best athletes in the world, period. And while she's a natural on the court, she had some guidance in her early days in the form of Pro Xena Garrison. The World Tennis Association has a mentor program, and I was Serena's when she first came out on the tour, Garrison told the Houston Chronicle back in 2015. Before that, though, I remember going with Rosie Castles to watch two young black girls hit. Everybody was talking about Venus, but for me, it was the little one that struck me. She was poaching at the net, fist bumping, and just having a ball. You could see that they were both very talented. But in my mind, I kind of always believed Serena was going to be best. Pretty cool. So this is next one, Stephen Curry and Del Curry. Stephen Curry is one of the most dominant players in the NBA, which isn't too surprising considering he had a really excellent role model as a kid. His dad, Del Curry, spent 16 seasons in the NBA playing for 5 different teams. And Stephen developed into a pro, then started shattering records, his dad was there to mentor him through the experience. This is coming from Stephen Curry. Pops, you're an example of what a true professional is on and off the court, he said when accepting the MVP award in 2015. I remember a lot of your career, and to be able to follow in your footsteps, it means a lot to me. How cool. So this next one is about Alex Morgan and Abby Wambach. Alex Morgan is one of the most dynamic soccer players, male or female, in the world. While she's naturally talented, she had help honing her skills and preparing to become the face of the sport in the U.S. by the legendary Abby Wambach. Abby was someone who I could completely trust and who I could be honest with, and vice versa. Her with me, Morgan told Elle.com. So it was great to kind of have that really honest relationship, to be able to move forward and make strides forward together, and not only become friends off the field, but help with our chemistry on the field as well. That's huge. That is huge. So, it's funny because we talk about this a lot on the show, Jim and I. And we'll talk about how when people they don't tell you this, or they don't want you to succeed because they're so scared that you might get more than they do, So, I've talked about it before. One of the things I do, I created through my own life experience, high energy performance coaching. And I help people get their energy straight because we don't always see it, right? But you know what? I'm not everybody's cup of tea or their coffee. So there are other people out there who are more personality minded to be with a client than maybe me, or vice versa. But the point I'm making is that there is enough out there for everybody, and everybody wins, right? So when we have that mindset, right? Oh, I can't help them, or we're in the same business, I can't mentor them because, maybe they're going to get more clients than I have. That's just our ego talking. Because when you mentor and give of yourself freely, and anything you do, it's going to come back to you it's going to come back 100-fold, folks. So this next one is Russell Wilson and Peyton Manning. When Russell Wilson squared off against Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 48, it was the first time the two competed against each other. But it wasn't the first time they shared the same field. When Wilson was in 10th grade, he participated in a Manning family quarterback camp. That experience of seeing Manning's work ethic, dedication, and interaction with youth players left a lasting remark on the future Super Bowl champion. You inspired me to work hard, to be disciplined, to be respectful, to take notes, Wilson wrote in a letter published by the Players Tribune before Manning announced his retirement. You inspired me to love the process, to love the sweat, to love the tears. But most of all, you inspired me to love the game. Now, I don't know about you, but folks, I've not heard of too many tributes that was that beautifully said and written in so small of words. Hats off. That is amazing. You inspired me to love the process, to love the sweat, to love the tears, but most of all, you inspired me to love the game. That is amazing, right? And I think that, what he said here, this is absolutely a perfect segue, I guess, is that being a mentor is about inspiring, right? And inspiring people to see not just the good, but to help them through, the hurdles that we learned the hard way, right? So mentoring our youth, holy cow. If I could save, and I hope I have, I hope that, I've helped children along the way. When my kids were all home and in school, I had so many kids coming out of my house that weren't mine. And it was just real common for them to say Mama Donna, right? So I hope that to all those kids out there that, I did something that inspired them along the way and made them, a better person because of it. So this next one is about Breanna Stewart and Maya Moore. Breanna Stewart led the Yukon Huskies to 4 straight national titles, then was selected first overall in the 2016 WNBA draft by the Seattle Storm. She faced mile-high expectations for years, but she's had help navigating the life of a superstar. Former Husky and first overall pick, Maya Moore, and 3-time WNBA champ, Maya Moore. I see myself in Stewie so much, Moore said in 2014. The things Coach Gino Auriemma yells at her for are the same things he yelled at me for. The position she's in at a young age, leading the team and playing so well and being so talented in different areas of the floor, I think we're very similar in those ways. So this next one is, we're going to go back into hockey, is Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. I'm probably going to butcher that name. I apologize. When Sidney Crosby was drafted first overall by the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2005, he not only had to make the adjustment to playing in the NHL, he also was tasked with turning around the franchise, which had finished in last place in the Atlantic Division 3 straight years in a row. Oh, and it was also threatening to move out of Pittsburgh if it didn't get a new arena. Naturally, The one person who could relate to that kind of pressure became Crosby's mentor, Mario, the legendary Penguin star who played his entire career in Pittsburgh, bought the team out of bankruptcy, and ensured it remained in the city. Crosby and Mario were so close, in fact, that Crosby lived at Mario's house for years after being drafted. Well, that's pretty cool, huh? Michelle Wee and Meg Mallon. And yes, this is golf. There's no bigger star in women's golf than Michelle Wee, and it almost didn't happen without LPGA pro and two-time U.S. Open champion Meg Mallon. In 2013, Wee was hit a rough patch. Well, that's what it says, but it doesn't sound right. Wee was in a rough patch. She missed 7 cuts in 19 starts, but Mallon saw something in the young golfer. So she chose Wee to be on the U.S. team for the Solheim Cup, and that turned things around. A year later, Wee had captured her own U.S. Open title. Whatever it is, Michelle has it, Mallon told Golf.com. People are drawn in by her, and they can't take their eyes off of her. Every sport needs a person like that, and Michelle is it for women's golf. Touche. Touche. So this next one is basketball about LeBron James, and I'm really going to try on this name, folks. Mike Krzyzewski. I'm going to say it's Mike Krzyzewski. LeBron James went to the NBA straight out of high school. So he never had the experience of forging a relationship with a college coach. But that changed when he began playing for Team USA, a squad overseen by Duke's Mike Krzyzewski in 2005. I've grown from a young man into a leader of that team. He's helped me develop that. I give a lot of credit to him, James told the Miami Herald in 2012. When he won Sports Illustrated's Sportsman of the Year award later that year, he added, I'm a kid from Akron, Ohio, and to have one of the greatest coaches of all time be a mentor and someone who I can call every day, no matter what time of the day, is crazy. Well, that's awesome. I think we all need people like that. We all need mentors or our best friends or whoever it is in your life. We all need people just like that. So we're going to, we're going to take a step back to women's hockey. Hillary Knight and Angel Ruggiero. Hillary Knight is one of the top women hockey players in the United States, if not the world. And as she was developing her on-ice abilities and earning her way on the U.S. national team, she had help from a legend of American women's hockey. On the hockey side, my mentor was Angela Ruggiero. Knight told USA Today, I learned a tremendous amount underneath her and saw how she changed the game of hockey. So, I love this because here they're not afraid to share. They are not afraid to share what they've learned as a mentor. They're not afraid to say, hey, I've learned this and this would be great for you because you know what? What I'm seeing you doing here is the same thing I did. And I learned from my mentor. So let me help you to be a better player quicker than I ever did. That's what mentoring our youth is all about. That is just outstanding. So we're going to talk now about Mike Trout and Torii Hunter. Mike Trout is going to be a baseball superstar for a long time. But when he was working his way through his first 2 seasons, he was helped along by a star winding down his career, Torii Hunter. He knows everything out there. I learned so much from Torii. I still think about the things he taught me, Trout told MLB.com in 2015. Before at-bats, we're talking in the outfield about things to look for, what a hitter might do with a certain pitch. That's one of the things I learned from Torii, who is always talking out there. He taught me to know which base I was going to throw to before the pitch. That's awesome. Connor McDavid and Curtis Joseph. For years, insanely talented Connor McDavid has been pegged the next Wayne Gretzky or the next Sidney Crosby. But he still needed to work on his skills to make it to the NHL. And for that, he had pro goalie Curtis Joseph. As a 7-year-old, McDavid became friends with Joseph's son, and that led McDavid training at the barn, a custom rink Joseph built on his property. McDavid learned about more than just hockey, though. Joseph showed him how to embrace his gifts while remaining humble. He's the type of person you'd like to want to be, McDavid told the Toronto Sun in 2015. If you can just tell yourself, if you can take an example of being the hockey player that he is and still be the person that he is, you're doing something right. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. Bryce Harper and Jason Worth. The Nationals' Bryce Harper is one of baseball's brightest young stars. But even naturals need some help transitioning to the pros. And Harper found that in Jason Worth. I owe him a lot, Harper told MASN Sports in 2015. Everything he has done for me from the outfield, base running, hitting, and just having that veteran experience from him, dealing with pitchers and dealing with outfield situations, things like that. He is like an older brother to me. I think having him teach me things every day has been pretty incredible. Found his friend, right? So this is kind of a fun one. So we're going into a different sport, and I think she's retired now. I'm not sure. And really, I've only got time for this one more, but Danica Patrick and Bobby Rahal. Okay. NASCAR driver Danica Patrick might not race for Bobby Rahal anymore, but the legendary racing champion had a huge impact on her career. After first meeting Rahal in 2001, they stayed in touch while both were part of the racing scene in Europe. Rahal signed her in 2002, giving Patrick her first chance to compete in the U.S. 3 years later. She drove in her first Indianapolis 500, and her career was off to the races. So, I think the moral of everything I've read, there are ways that we can mentor children everywhere around us. Whether it's at after school program, it's through the schools. There's anything out there. And the beautiful thing is, if you're not sure where to go in your town, that's okay. That is absolutely okay, because I guarantee you can look it up on the internet and you can find it by Googling it. Well, folks, we are really at the end of our show, and I want to thank you for joining me on, how our youth making a difference, but our youth mentors was our main focus, obviously, for today's show. I hope that wherever you are, you're having a beautiful day or night, and that, give yourself love and give yourself encouragement. But most of all, give yourself grace. We'll see each